الآن يمكنكم المشاركة في مبادرة الأيام الرقمية تحت شعار انطلق بقوة مع جوجل، والتي يتناول فيها خبراء جوجل عناوين جديدة أسبوعيا مثل السحابيات، مهارات من جوجل، أندرويد، فلتر، ذكاء الآلة، فايربيس، ديزاين ثينكينج، مقسمة إلى دورات وورشات عمل يومية بالإضافة إلى مسابقات أسبوعية. شاهد الأيام الرقمية مباشرة على اليوتيوب وشارك رأيك وأسئلتك مع خبراء جوجل، واحصل على شهادة حضور في كل محاضرة تشترك فيها. هذا وأكثر من الأحد إلى الخميس ابتداء من الساعة 9 بتوقيت دبي عبر الرابط المبين youtube.com/gdgmena.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another session from GDG MENA Digital Days. These sessions are brought to you by experts and developers in the MENA region every day from Sunday to Thursday. And personally, these sessions have been very valuable to me. I have learned a lot each time I watch a new session. So if you want to stay in the loop on the latest Google technologies, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you like this session, please give it a thumbs up. And regarding our session today, as you know, during Google I/O, we had a lot of enhancements. And today, we are going to sum up what is new in Android 12 and what you should look forward to in order to get the best out of the new update. Now, a little bit about me. My name is Layale Matta. I'm an Android developer, and I help co-organize Google Developers Group here in Lebanon. Now, what is new in Android? Let's start. In this session, I will cover the Android 12 updates in 3 different topics. So let's start with System UI. Why System UI? Because UI changes are the most visible ones in Android 12. And this is what we will notice at first when we first see the new update. This is a major turning point in Android with a more dynamic and modern and more polished UI, which brings key changes to make Android feel at the same time faster and smoother. And most of these changes will be handled by the OS itself. And from our side, the developers, there is only a few things that we should take care of and implement in order to make our apps look better on Android 12. Android 12 is also a new step towards a new design language called Material U. Material U will enable our users to customize the device and make the apps feel more personal. To learn more about what is new in material design and learn the new details, make sure to check the Google I/O session on YouTube. Now, the first version of this update, Google is bringing the device theme colors to our apps. So by applying the theme.devicedefault.daynight as a theme, we will automatically get all the device theme colors like the background, the accents and primary colors and the secondary colors and so on. Or we can even get a full range of color palettes from the system resources. And even further, on Pixel devices, they will provide these colors dynamically. They will check the user's wallpaper picture, and by using color extractions, they will give us the full color palette that we can use. So our users will get a really great experience customizing these colors in our apps. There was no way to read the Android system UI without improving this core feature of Android, the widgets. Widgets have been there since the earliest version of Android, and with Android 12, they are getting their major revamp. So with this update, users will engage with the widgets even more by engaging with the widget itself without having to launch the app of the widget. And they provided us with the tools and the resources to make the widgets easier to build. So we can check the upcoming and new Compose library that is now stable for building widgets, which makes building. They are also adding native support for adding interactive elements on the widgets. So you can see checkboxes, radio buttons, and this way our users can engage more with the widget without having to launch the app, as I mentioned. So on top of that, they are also improving the discoverability of the widgets. There is a new revamped widget picker where you can provide a better description of what your widget does, and as well as a much better preview, a preview where you can have a more scaled and you can give better understanding of how your widget will look on your device. And this doesn't end there. Widgets will appear in more places in Android 12, starting with on-device search, Google Assistant on mobile, and even on Android Auto in your cars. They are also bringing Material You to your home screen by enabling the color theming. So users and device manufacturers, and we know for Android, they are a lot, they can personalize colors and themes. And also on Pixel devices, as I mentioned before, these colors can be extended from your wallpaper colors, so widgets and apps can blend into the system more together. And Android 12 also introduced system-level resources, which allow launcher to control the padding and the corner radius of the widgets. So your widgets will automatically get the enhancement. And of course, you can always tweak the widget, the design, the way that you prefer. But this way, we can make the design go together with the system UI. So to customize the look and feel, first, we encourage the developers to create a new theme that make your widgets and app icon more harmonious, as I said, with the system level resources, like, for example, the control padding and the corner radius, etc. So referring to this checklist example, which you can see on the screen, this snippet shows how to add a system level resource for corner radius. You add this to your theme, and then you apply this to your widget by adding it to the main layout. As simple as that. Now, adding dynamic colors is also really simple. By adding this to the system theme and use the colors attributes that you have in your widget layouts. And as you can see in the code snippet, making your widget reconfigurable is also a new option that you can give your users in a very easy way to reconfigure their widgets without having to delete the widget and recreating it if they want to change anything. So if the users long press on the widget, the reconfiguration activity will be invoked. Of course, if you have enabled the ability to reconfigure your widget. And if you want to learn more about widgets, you can check the documentation as well as the samples on GitHub. Android 12 also brings consistency to the ecosystem. And as you know, an important part of the ecosystem is the notifications. This is why they are deprecating the fully customizable notifications. This has been an issue each time we change the notifications template. So if we have a very custom notification, basically we need to do everything from scratch. So for apps targeting Android 12, the system implies a standard theme in order to provide a more consistent user experience with the notifications. So by using the app name and the expansion collapse state, you can do that. So for developers, you are strongly encouraged to first update your SDK level, check your notifications if they are not fully customizable in order to pick the right template in order to avoid more changes in the future. Another new thing with Android 12 is the new stretch over scroll. So you probably noticed the glow effect whenever you try to scroll a scrollable item and reach the end and feel like it's blocked. In Android 12, we will apply the overscroll with a stretch effect to overshoot this behavior. So if your app has a grid list, a recycler view, or a view pager, make sure to add the effect that your users are actually expecting for a better user experience. Now, a major focus with Android 12 is on privacy and security. They have been iterating on this in several recent releases, and every year they introduce new changes. Why? To ensure that the Android system respects the user privacy and the security standards. So, what are these privacy changes? The main principles of Android privacy are first, the transparency, which means what data is actually accessed by our apps. The second is control. We provide the control for the users to be informed about those choices that they previously made, which permissions that they allow. And finally, the ability to limit the access of particular data and minimizing the data scope for permissions, and let the user only give the needed permission to certain applications. So if you want to learn more again about these changes, make sure to check out the Google I/O session on what is new in Android privacy. Now let's start by looking at the transparency principle, just briefly. In Android 12, they have added a new transparency icons for the microphone and the camera access. So if your app or any app starts accessing your microphone and your camera, these icons will be shown in your status bar. And if this access is not allowed or was not granted by the user can jump in the settings and revoke the permissions of this app. So make sure your users are aware of why you are using the camera and the microphone and tell them the use case of why you need these. With Android 12, there's another change. Now users can easily turn off the microphone and camera by using the toggles that you can see here on the screen. This doesn't mean that you need to change something in your application. If you are using the permissions in the best practices way, this should work for you. But keep in mind that you may lose the camera and the microphone access while your app thinks you already have access to your camera and microphone. So make sure to check for these permissions when you need them and check if they are disabled or not. And by the way, this applies to all SDK levels, not just Android 12. Continuing with the control principle this time. Android 12 brings better control over location sharing. So users will be able to choose the level of location precision granted to an app, such as the coarse or fine location. You know, we have two different permissions for location. For most apps, coarse location should be fine, and it will work as expected. However, if your app's use case needs to access fine location, such as giving turn-by-turn directions or looking for a particular item in a very specific location, you may need to ask for find location. In this case, your app needs to ask for both permissions, course and find, and your app should still handle the case where the user only grants the course location instead of find location too. So make sure you validate your app's use cases and make sure that you really need the precise location permission before using it. So if you're using course permission already, there shouldn't be any effects on your apps. If your use case needs a precise location, you must declare and request both location permissions. And also, make sure that your app works with course location, since this is an option which the user might choose only the course location. And later, you can tell the user why you still need the find location. So you can show them how your app works and how you can make their lives easier while using the find location permission, for example. So as mentioned, instead of requesting course or find location, you need to request them together if you need a precise location, of course. And if you're getting any errors or something is not working as you expected to, make sure to check the logcat. They added a new logcat error to tell you that, for example, find location might be requested with course location. So you can solve your problem much easier now. And related to the location permissions and following the data minimization principle, apps which target Android 12 have the option to decouple find location permission for use cases like, for example, pairing with devices that are nearby. This is actually very interesting because when an app needs to scan for Bluetooth, for example, it asks for the location permission, and it's kind of disturbing for the user. They don't understand why you need the location permission while you're just trying to set up a light bulb or another device to send a certain file. So in Android 12, you can exclude the location from the Bluetooth scan, or you can only use the Bluetooth connection permission, which again is not paired with the location permissions. Now more on the data minimization principle. If you've been following changes since Android 12 with Android 11, if an application hasn't been used for a while, the permissions are auto-reset. And this didn't really affect us, the developers, because if we follow the best practices, we might be checking the permissions anyway when we need them. But with Android 12, they are bringing this step a little further. And applications which haven't been used for a while will be hibernated. What it means is the system will revoke all the previously granted permissions to these apps. The system will also free up the storage by clearing the app cache of these apps. And any jobs or push notifications, even with a higher priority, will also stop. And your app will behave just like it has been force stopped, for example. So you can learn more about app hibernation and privacy changes in What's New with Android Privacy Google I/O session. To conclude this, let's talk about the app startup, another major focus area for this release of Android 12. A major change is the splash screen. For years, we've been told not to use splash screens, but we continue to use them. So it was time to introduce a new API for splash screen. So by default, the system will use your app theme background and your app icon to display a smooth animation while your app is launching. The advantage of this is we can run this animation while the app is being loaded into the memory. When we used to create our own splash screens, we needed to first load the app, which will show the splash screen. While in this setup, the splash screen animation can run while your app is being loaded by the system. This new API will allow you to customize these parameters and provide animated app icons to make more dynamic splash screens. So these changes are important, specifically if your app already has a splash screen, which may cause you to have double splash screens. So make sure to check out the new splash screen API. Now, the splash screen is displayed before the app is loaded, as we said, and optionally, you can customize this splash screen by providing an animated vector drawable, which will be shown instead of your app icon. You can also customize the existing animation that you have of the splash screen. And to do this, all you need to do is declare the app icon and background color in the app theme. And using these new attributes, if you'd like to further customize the splash screen, you need to get a reference to the splash screen by using activity.getSplashScreen, and then customize the animation by using set-on-exit animation listener, for example. But once again, if you don't want to customize anything, the system itself will automatically pick the background from the app theme and your app icon from the IC_launcher. Now, to learn more about Splash Screen's APIs, check the documentation as well as the samples on GitHub. Now, app links. App links are not actually new. They have been introduced to provide verified links to your application. Unfortunately, Google has found that developers often do this mistake while building and configuring their app links, which may cause more disambiguation with the dialogues. So with Android 12, they are improving app links to reduce the user friction resulting from improper setup or syntax errors, for example. And they provide tools to avoid these problems. They made app links verification granular on a link-by-link basis. So if one link fails, the others will continue working when they are, of course, declared correctly. So they added ADB commands to help you when testing as well. And in Android 12, users will be taken directly to the browsers for web links if there is no default app installed in the system. So finally, there are new APIs in Android 12 that let you check for your domain verification states. For example, like taking the user to the settings to approve domain links for your app so they can use these links. So make sure to check those APIs and verify your app link setup is good to go. Another way to launch your app is by clicking on notifications. So there is a common practice which ended up to be a very bad experience, user experience, and it is called notification trampoline. What is notification trampoline, you may ask? When the user clicks on a notification, instead of redirecting the user to the target activity or screen, the app goes into a broadcast receiver or service to decide which activity to launch. This results in a very poor performance and a slower animation. So all applications targeting Android 12 won't be able to launch an activity inside a broadcast receiver or a service that was started from a notification. So make sure to check this in your applications in order to fix this in Android 12. And before we conclude this section, another use case is from foreground services. Foreground services are mostly used for multitasking services, such as, for example, you are listening to a podcast while browsing or while checking your email or while checking the map directions. So if your app had multitasking use cases, foreground services are a great way for implementing long-running user-initiated tasks with high priority. Foreground services are exactly built for these use cases. However, developers found different ways to use foreground services which are not always working in a great way for users. They found that almost half of the apps start foreground services from the background. And when this happens, users are really surprised. They are not expecting a non-actionable foreground service notification to be on top of their screen, and they find it a little distracting to have a constant notification on their screen, which does not do anything really. So additionally, foreground services take up valuable system resources, and the Android operating system cannot prioritize resources effectively. And these processes need to be in the foreground all the time. So with Android 12, we don't allow launching foreground services from the background. This change will apply to apps that target Android 12 and above. So this was a quick overview with some of the main changes which we will see in Android 12. I really encourage you to have a look at the Google I/O sessions, which give much more details on each topic. I hope this session was beneficial for you to know what to expect in Android 12 in order to target this version in your applications. And now, I hope you have a great weekend.